Hey, it's Chris Kirkpatrick with Life 180, and I wanted to do a quick video doing a review of one of Dave Ramsey's videos. I ran across this actually today, and I just kind of felt inspired to put this video together and talk about basically what I learned and what I heard, and it was disturbing what I got out of this video. And it was disturbing for many, many reasons. Now, if you've watched my content, it's no surprise that I've always kind of had a bit of a disagreement with Dave Ramsey when it comes to whole life insurance, because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I'm a big believer in coaching people how to utilize whole life insurance, as properly structured whole life insurance, to as a leveraged financial tool to accomplish what they want to accomplish in their financial life. He's adamantly against whole life insurance. That's a topic for another conversation. Let's talk about wealth creation. I came across this video that Dave Ramsey did on how to become a millionaire, right? Now, I just want to start by talking about I took some notes down here, talking about what he was talking about that was disturbing. First of all, he gave a set of assumptions to start, saying that if you invest $100 a month for 40 years, and you put it into a Roth IRA, tax-free, and you put it into a growth stock mutual fund, averaging 12%, that you will be a millionaire after 40 years. From 25 to 65, you do that, you'll be a millionaire. So my first problem with that is that you're not gonna find a growth stock mutual fund that averages 12% over 75 years. He says that it's possible, and I'm telling you here, that is a flat out lie. It is impossible. In fact, if you were a licensed financial professional and you told anybody that they could make an assumption based on 12% of a return in a mutual fund to accomplish your financial goals, you would be sued and you would lose your license. Flat out, straight, like no questions asked, you would lose your license. So to me, this is the problem that I have with Dave. Now, I want to take a step back here because I do agree a lot with what Dave says when it comes to the biblical principles of debt and debt elimination. Not all of them, but most of them are really, for the most part, common sense and pretty good, right? But when it comes to the wealth creation component to it, my challenge is a lot of people, he builds trust with a lot of people, and then because he helped you get out of debt maybe and helped you regain control of your life in some capacity in that world, now when it comes to creating wealth, it's you just have a natural built-in trust for him, and to me that's dangerous. Now, he sits in this video and he basically says, he makes the comment, and there's a clip in here, and I want you to watch this.
I agree with your set of assumptions. Well, shut up unless you do something about it. Because my set of assumptions have made me rich. So why don't you use my set of assumptions instead of your set of assumptions? Because you're sitting on your assumption, doing nothing.
So he basically just sat there and said he doesn't care about our assumptions because he's assuming that if you disagree with his assumptions, that you're an idiot and that you're not doing anything about it, and you're using those assumptions as an excuse to not be successful. Like, he just assumes you're stupid. That's ultimately what this comes down to. And he proves that. Like, he keeps going in this, and he screams at people and he says, listen, we live in the most prosperous country in the world, right? Actually, I want to play this 4 minutes into his video. This is what he has to say.
It's your fault in this country if you retire broke. It's your fault because you made a freaking fortune in your working lifetime. You work your butt off your whole life and you have nothing to show for it.
So here's my problem with this statement where it's your fault if you don't become a millionaire or don't retire a millionaire. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, you have to take some accountability. There are things that you have to do. You have to make sure you save. You have to make sure you invest. You have to make sure that you understand. But here's my big challenge with this, is that you're not the professional at this. You're going to Dave Ramsey. You're leaning on Dave Ramsey for information, right? You're leaning on him for his expertise and guidance to push you in the right direction and to make your financial decisions, right? So here's my challenge. So what I did was I looked at this and I said, you know what, Dave, I don't agree with your assumptions. I think they're not only irresponsible, but I think they're lies. I do. I think they're flat out lies, and I think there's an agenda behind them, and I'm not gonna hold back about this. So what I wanna do is I wanna put together a sheet here. I put together a sheet, I think, I guess, is the better way to say it. And basically it goes through all his assumptions. And I wanted to start with the basic first assumption, where he said you could save $100 a month for 40 years and become a millionaire, based on a 12% assumption. Now, once again, that's irresponsible, that's unrealistic. And the reason that I get mad at him, once again, is he knows that that's not realistic. It's impossible. Like, seriously, it's impossible. So, expectation management, if he's the pro and he's telling you that it is possible, and you make your expectations around that and you come up short, and he was the one who coached you to it, whose fault is that, right? Like, he's got to take some responsibility in that guidance, and he doesn't, and it's insane to me. So, if you do this and you get 12%, $100 a month for 40 years, you're gonna have $4.4 million plus. Now here's the problem, you're not gonna do that. The reality is, the S&P is gonna average about 8%. Now, here's what I wanna tell you. Average doesn't really mean much, right? So, this is the thing, I wanna do a little exercise with you, right? So, if you had an average, right? And let's say, actually, I'm just gonna scribble that out. Let's say you had $10,000. $10,000, right? And the first year, I'm just gonna go through how averages work. You make 100%, right? You have $20,000, right? That's how much you have in money if you make 100%. The next year, the market goes down 50%, right? What do you have? You're back down to $10,000, right? So here's the deal. What's the average rate of return here? Well, you had a plus 100 year, minus 50 equals 50 divided by 2 years equals 25%. That's an average rate of return of 25%. Now, here's the problem. What's your real rate of return? The real rate of return is 0%, right? That's the real rate of return, 0. So here's the thing. Averages don't mean anything when it comes to your mutual fund over the long term. The average rate of return in the S&P 500 since 1925 is just over 8%. The real rate of return is just over 6%. Now, that may not sound like a big difference, but it's 25% difference in the number. And when you compound that 25% over decades, like he's using an example of 40 years, it has a significant impact on your ability to create wealth and save. So here's what I did, is I switched the assumption from 12% to 7%. And guess what? It's not so bad. You still wind up with $1.1 million. That gets you to become that millionaire status still. So maybe from that perspective, he's saying, okay, you're good still. Like, even if you come up short, you're still gonna be good. But here's the problem. Now you can see you're saving. Here's the return, the interest gain. Here's what the gross amount in your account is. But then here's the problem. What he doesn't talk about is the management fees that are involved here. You're gonna pay between the mutual fund fees and the money manager fees that you pay for an advisor, a financial advisor to help you manage your money. It's gonna be about 1.5% all in, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I would say if it's more, definitely, you definitely wanna do something else. But 1.5%. And when you take these money management fees over the years and you compound the fees, you can see that their fees get bigger and bigger and bigger. This is my other thing that I'm really passionate about, is this whole idea of managed money, right? And the whole industry of financial services has gone from a commission-based, I'm gonna sell you a financial product and make a commission up front, to being a fee-based business where they get a flat fee of the assets that they're managing. Now, the reason they want to do that is because as you grow, their fees get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So they become more and more wealthy. Now, you stand to risk, if you lose your portfolio, you're gonna risk losing 50% of your portfolio. For instance, like right now I'm filming this in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, right? So if you just lost 30% of your income or of your money in your account, yeah, you lost 30%. If you had $1 million, you lost $300,000. In this situation, if your advisor, they lose a little income, but they don't lose any money. They're still making their money, right? So to me, one of the biggest schemes going on right now is the managed money game. And you can see why here, and I should do another video on that, but I'm not gonna talk about it anymore right now. So, but you can see when you take the fees into consideration, you go from 1.1 million to $748,000. So once again, it's about expectation management, because now it gets even worse, because here's the bottom line. Why do you want $1 million? Let's talk about this for a second. Why do you want $1 million? What's this magical number all about? It sounds good, right? It sounds like it'll be impactful in our lives to have $1 million. And I guess it was back in 1980. But at the end of the day, Dave doesn't talk, and this is my biggest challenge with his talking, is that this is my problem. I'm gonna put it very plainly. He thinks you're stupid. He does. He thinks you're stupid. He gives you dumbed down advice that's simplistic, inaccurate, and he doesn't talk about the variables that come into your financial life that actually make the most impact on the results of your finances. Inflation is one of the most important things to understand when you're talking about your financial future, right? Because it has a huge impact in what your life is. So let's see this. Your money is growing, right? Now you can see here, what's your money worth? Your money's growing here. And let's say you're going for this $1 million in the top corner here. Oh, I gotta flip it back over to here. So let's say your money's growing and you can see your goal is to get $1 million. So what do you need if your goal after 40 years is to have $1 million in today's money value? What do you need? Well, 40 years from now, if you want the equivalent based on inflation to have $1 million in today's money, you're gonna need $2.619 million. Why is that important? Because it's not the number. You don't want the money for money's sake itself. It's the standard of living. It's the quality of life, right? It's what the money can buy for you, right? That's why you want the $1 million. Maybe you need $40,000, 4% of that per year in income, right? I mean, the Monte Carlo simulations right now say that 2.75% is actually the safe number to make sure that that $1 million would last you forever for the rest of your life. So 4% is still a bit risky right now. But bottom line is, like, it's the $40,000 you want. So if in fact it's the quality of life that matters, 40 years from now, $1 million doesn't mean anything. You're gonna need $100,000, like 260% more than what you're dealing with, right? So, or 160% depending on how you wanna look at it. But it's from 1 million to 2.6, you're gonna go from like $40,000 to $100,000 in income that you're gonna need, right? In that ballpark that you're gonna need to maintain your standard of living. It's insane. It's never gonna happen using his plan. It's impossible. He makes it sound so simplistic, and my problem is he goes in here and he starts insulting people, and he basically says, if you're not successful with this, if you don't do this, you're a loser. Listen to this really quickly.
Shut up! Maybe you can't save 15% of your income because you're so deeply in debt and you've not followed these steps to get out of debt. Well, then follow the steps and get out of debt so that you can. But maybe you save half that amount. And so you only end up with, let's say, okay, let's just do this. Instead of $7.5 million, let's say that I'm 90% wrong because you're a loser. Let's just call it that. You're a loser, and I'm 90% wrong. That's $750,000 you would have.
So at the end of the day, that's what he has to say. That's who he is. Like, I know I've watched a lot of his talks. I know he sits up on stage and he claims he's Mr. Christian, Mr. Biblical-based principles. I don't know about you, but I don't know any fellow Christian that's gonna go around and insult people, call them losers, disparage them, and not be somebody who lifts them up and encourages people and is trying to ultimately guide people, shepherd people. He's trying to beat you with a stick to get you to go in the right direction, and he's using that fear tactic, so to speak, to get you to follow advice. It's like he's so loud and obnoxious in that way that you just like almost forget everything else he's saying and you just like follow his guidance blindly. I don't understand what people are doing here. So anyway, that's really where I'm at with this. I want to encourage you that I want you to think for yourself. I want you to think about what are the variables that really impact the results that you're going to have in your financial life. We're living in this pandemic right now, and I think statistics show, you know, if you look at the average rate of return, we've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs. When you lose 100% or 50% in your portfolio, you need to earn 100% just to break even, right? And that's assuming there are no fees involved. It's actually you got to earn like probably 110% to break even after fees are considered, right? And so you got to take inflation into consideration. And so I just encourage you to take a step back and don't just follow his advice on wealth creation blindly. I'm sure he helped you get out of debt if that's why you're following him, because he is great in that perspective. He's great in that area and arena because he deals with very basic, simple principles that just require a lot of discipline, right? I don't agree with all his debt elimination tactics, but for the most part, they're really good and they're helpful. They're not going to hurt you. His wealth creation concepts and advice are flat out dangerous. They're lies, they're deceitful, and they're just being run by fear. So I had to say that, I had to get that out there. And if anybody from Dave Ramsey's team is watching this, I encourage you to reach out to me and I'd love to have a conversation with you. Go ahead and email me, chris@life180.com. All right. Anyway, I hope that helps. God bless you. And if you are struggling, if this is stuff that you are looking to accomplish on your own, definitely find somebody that can help you. I no longer am an advisor. I used to be. When I first started this channel, I was a financial advisor. I realized for me, I was more passionate about building businesses than I was actually taking on clients and helping them. And so I still maintain the passion of financial education because I think it's such a lacking thing, and I think it's a scary world when Dave Ramsey is the #1 guy when it comes to giving advice out there on wealth creation. And so I just had to put this video together, and I hope it helps. I hope it serves you, and I hope it helps you at least maybe spark some ideas and conversations inside your own head or with your spouse or whoever you're making your financial decisions with. So anyway, God bless. Go out there, crush it, live abundantly, live efficiently, live life 180, and take care.